Worst Thanksgiving ever. I'll never forget November 21st, 2022. This is the date that I got laid off. Honestly, I never imagined myself getting laid off. But many thanks to my past employer, I got laid off right before Thanksgiving. What a wonderful timing. So, this is the story about the day. It was Monday of third week of November in 2022. I went to the office just as usual, driving from San Francisco all the way down to San Jose. And I had the conversation. I got one on one meeting invites from my CEO the day before. It was a bit weird. I went to the office and he wanted to see me in the room. And right after I sat down, he was, how are you doing? And I was like, I'm doing well. And he said that they decide to downsize, so I'm laid off. I was so shocked, and I really lose my words. I really don't know what to say. And during the whole conversation, I was shocked that I was like shivering and didn't really know what to do. It felt like everything stopped at the time, and it felt like everything was in slow motion. I wasn't even crying. It felt like my brain was stabbed with a knife. And I called my boyfriend and asked if he can meet me. So I took an Uber and I drove to my boyfriend's office. And he was standing in the parking lot. I got out of the car, and that was the time I cried for the first time. Like after seeing my boyfriend's face, the tears were just immediately out of my eyes. I'm like, yeah, I was crying. It was bad. And after that, I stayed in his office for a day. We grabbed lunch. We talked about what to do now. And I started on planning what can be the action item in the next 6 months. After spending, I stayed there until like 4 p.m. Yeah, 4ish. After spending the day in his office, we drove back home, and my boyfriend wants to pick up some dinner for us. So we went to a random poke place on the way back, and I'll never forget the poke that I had that night. How can I forget the food that I had on the day that I was laid off? The funny thing is, the poke was actually really good. And the girl who was making my poke was just like my grandma. Like she gave me the big portion of fishes. And after that, I was calling my mom and let her know that I was laid off. And right after I heard my mom's voice, I just can't stop crying. Like I literally cried like a small baby. Like I didn't really know how long I was crying. Yeah, I was just like sobbing. And my mom was keep saying me that everything will be okay, but that makes me cry even more. After that, I was sitting on the bed, looking up for the positions on the job boards, and that night I was suffering from the headaches. I think I cried way too much. It was really, really hard to fall asleep. And I was like, my brain was like just dominated by the thoughts of like, what am I gonna do now? Like, I was so lost, and it took me a while to fully admit and realize the fact that I was laid off. How did the week go? The number one thing that I had to do was revamping my portfolio. I was sitting in front of my desk, working on portfolio and crying, working on portfolio, crying again and again. It was just like an endless loop. That's how my Thanksgiving on 2022 went. Like, I was just literally working on portfolios, applying for the job, and crying in front of my desk. I know, sounds super fun, right? So, this is the story about the day that I got laid off. which I'll never forget until I die. November 21st, 2022. Guys, can you believe it's 2023 February? It's almost like a second week. Oh my gosh, I